Welcome to another episode of Pardon Our Promotion. Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited that we're having so many subscribers. We actually just passed the 4 million mark in subscribers.
Who would have thought?
I can't believe it. The money's rolling in, the sponsorship. Didn't you just buy Bill Gates' house?
Yeah. I just put the offer in.
You did.
We'll see.
Is Melinda going to stay there, or is she going to go with him?
I'm looking to have that place to myself. So
no kidding. Maybe I can visit.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, nice. And all you guys are welcome to come by too. We'll text you the address.
Right. If only.
If only. No, really, we want to thank the 2 or 3 subscribers we have. We appreciate you.
It's a work in progress, right?
Right on.
We do hope that you guys find this content entertaining and whatnot. I know I say it at the end of each episode, but if you guys do have questions, reach out, post them. We'll talk about them. We love that content. So today, though, what I want to talk about are national entertainers or booking appearances for your show. Now, a lot of the time as a producer, I booked a lot of appearances, superstars, Berserk, all those kinds of things. And as a producer, it's great, right? Because you get to, that those 5 innings or whatever you're taking off, you can just write them in the script and they'll handle all the execution and, provide you with everything you need.
It's also great. Right. For the most part. I mean, sometimes you can hire a dud act.
Sure.
But even a dud act is kind of a night off at trying to figure out how to entertain the crowd.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Just because it goes away for the producer, though, there is a method to the madness. Meaning, you as a national entertainer with the Blues Brothers, there's still work that you put in, and there's certain rules that you follow as a national entertainer to get the most out of a crowd.
Correct.
Now, and what I want to talk about today, I think, are what those things are, and then potentially how a team can replicate those things and, save the money from booking a national act or executing those things themselves throughout their entire show.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are actually teams that are doing that, over the years and even today. There are teams that do that pretty well by actually creating events within their event.
Sure.
And that's what a touring act does. So just to digress, what is your favorite touring act, other than the Blues Brothers act, of course, which haven't been around for quite a long time now. So
I think, I went to the Superstars right away, and I think that's why. They've been one of my favorites. They've been around for a while.
Yes, they have.
And, you've seen them virally and everything. Eating, they got that skit where they eat the person and they spit out all their clothes and then they, come out in their underwear. Hilarious.
Yep.
Messing with the umpires is always fun.
Right. Now the kind of the original touring act who that kind of started it all. And I'm at least in my world, do you know who that?
No, sure.
That is the Famous Chicken. It was the San Diego Chicken. And again, it was just a guy in a chicken suit. His mom sewed for him, and all of a sudden he was doing more than the regular mascot with the baseball head that just walked around and shook people's hands, right? He actually started doing skits and doing funny things. Originally he was the San Diego Chicken, and he was the San Diego Padres, but then he became the Famous Chicken, and he toured globally doing his act. And there's actually on YouTube, there is the Chicken's famous bits. It's probably a 30-minute videotape.
Sure.
It was probably on VHS at first because it's been a long time since he's been around. But it's got all kinds of cute little mascot skits. So on a little side note, if your mascot is looking for cool, fun skits, take a look at it and borrow some of the stuff from the master, the guy that did it first. In fact, Berserk kind of was a stepchild, an evil stepchild of the Famous Chicken. He kind of took some of those same nuances of their acts and stuff, and he started his thing, and then he went on to he and his brother went on to create the Superstars. So yeah, in fact, the Famous Chicken. The reason why the Blues Brothers act started in sports is because the Famous Chicken happened to be going to my local CBA basketball team and we happened to be doing the halftime show just because a buddy of mine was working as a promotions director, and there was a synergy. All of a sudden the Chicken's like, hey, you guys are awesome. You should perform with me in the third quarter. And we taught him a few steps when we performed with him in the third quarter. And so then all of a sudden we were at the San Diego Padres game.
That's really cool.
Working with him. So
you mentored the chicken a little bit.
We actually taught the chicken a few steps. We did. And a couple of things on timing on skits. And that kind of goes back to your original question. It's kind of what you learn from getting out there. And when we first started doing the act, we did it in bars and nightclubs and such. To translate it to sports took a lot of pain and effort. We made a lot of mistakes. We had to cut it down to concise songs that are under 90 seconds in length. We had to do all kinds of different things. And a band, Scott, a band in a bar can have a problem with a microphone, or they could take a pause between one song and the next. But if you're on an NBA halftime show and you're doing 6 minutes, it's got to be tight. You got to be impactful. You got to be tight. The songs have to be fast, so our songs aren't 3.5 minutes. They were edited down to like 80 or 90 seconds. Hit the best part of the song so the crowd would react, and then get on to the next song. And then big entrance, big songs with big impact moments, and then a big exit.
Yeah, talk to me about that a little bit, or expand on that. What are the specific things that you did or your act did to get the most out of the crowd, to make the most impact? Like, how did you develop your skits? Like, what was behind it?
Well, and I'll tell a story as it relates to, let's say, a host intro or a PA intro or a player intro or mascot intro, right? Our intro for the Blues Brothers, we learned on the very first day we ever did it. The act itself has, the blue. If you're familiar with the Blues Brothers act, they have this cool build-up music, da 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 da, dun 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 da 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 da, and the original act, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, would come on stage to that. The band kind of ramping them up. And so, again, we didn't know what we were doing. And so we started our very first engagement, our very first contest we went to. We started the music, and we were standing outside the bar that we were going into. And the music started playing, and we looked through the windows. We're kind of peeking through the windows on the side, and we noticed the audience just getting anticipated. Yeah, sure. The energy level started building dramatically in the audience. And so by the time we opened the front door and walked to the stage, the place blew up.
They were ready. Yeah.
And we won the contest with our entrance, to be blunt. It was a contest, and that's how we started. And that really, of course, resonated with us. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. We might as well come out of the big entrance, because that is huge for audience participation.
Right.
So that's how it relates to the mascot, right? You got to...
So big entrance.
Big entrance, hit them hard. Don't hit them for too long. Don't make them apathetic. So that entrance is a very big piece, or it was a very big piece of our show going forward. We bought a Blues Brothers car. We used to drive it into stadiums or onto hockey rinks, and the crowd would just go nuts. One of my favorite moments was doing the Chicago NASCAR race, the Chicago 500 or whatever. There's probably a real name for it. I'm sorry, I'm missing that. But man, when that Blues car hit the track, in front of 80,000 people.
Race, hey?
Yeah, wow. And again in Chicago, which is right outside of Joliet, which is, of course, Joliet State Penitentiary in the movie.
Sure. Yep.
So that was that crowd. I never heard such a loud crowd response than 80,000 people seeing the Blues Brothers car. Wow. Again, we don't have any talent at all. We have no talent. I'm kidding, but the car itself was a big chunk of that show, that entrance. So
one of the things I keep hearing, obviously you guys, committed to this. You bought the car and you went all in. There's not necessarily an organization can't do that all the time. Mm-hmm. They can't buy a Blues Brother car or commit $20,000 to an act throughout the season. But what are the little things? Like, what are the rules of doing things on a nightly basis for your act?
Well, and thank you for we're segueing into the act itself. So the entrance is a big piece of it. And then, of course, hit them hard with a song. What we did was we came out using baseball, or in hockey was during, of course, an intermission. But in baseball, it was it's after the crowd gets settled, during a high point in the crowd. That's when you want to bring the crowd up. In hockey, you don't want to come out after a power play goal from the opposite team, sure. Right? You don't, because the crowd's down, right? In baseball, the same thing. You don't want to come out on the top of an inning because top of the inning, everyone's bummed out because the home team just struck out or whatever. Right. So you come out in the middle of the inning, and we hit them hard in that middle inning, and then we left, and then we come back middle of the next inning and hit them hard again with maybe it's usually a song first, then maybe a funny skit, and then maybe another song. But the real point is whether you're going to a rock concert or whatever, you take the crowd up and down. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're entertaining them, and you're asking them to get on their feet and clap their hands, and sometimes you're asking them to wave, and sometimes you're asking them to laugh. You create a funny skit where they're laughing, and sometimes you actually accumulate those things. But I always say a laugh and a boo are the same. They have the same, effect to the crowd.
Yeah.
If you get that crowd engaged,
yeah.
That's right. So you want to get them up and dancing. You want to get them sitting, laughing, booing. So those are those little things that we sprinkled throughout the show. And we actually took, Cheers, the episode, the television show Cheers did a really good job of accumulating jokes. Sam would say something, it'd be kind of funny. Carla would repeat something on top of that joke, and then was the dude at the end of the bar would say another line, and it would be a triple joke. And we would do kind of that same thing. There's cool things that you can study with improv and whatever, but we would add little things to keep the crowd going up and up and up. But the point is, where we're going is you do that 3 or 4 or 5 times a night. That's what the Superstars do, right? That's what the Blues Brothers acted. That's what Myron Newman did before he passed away. Those guys came in, did something really funny, and that's what gave them longevity. That's because, again, guys like you would say, hey, that was an awesome night, right? Let's hire them again next year. Mm-hmm. But if you said, hey, the Superstars are awesome, I'm going to book them 40 times in a row. Right. It's not going to work, right? But they hit them hard. But the one thing that teams can do is they can act like national entertainers, and they can look at their promotional schedule for tonight, their game schedule, and they could say, where can we make the crowd laugh? Where can we make them sing along?
Certainly.
Where can we make them boo? Really a nice, hearty boo. Those are awesome. Yeah. It gets, there was an act that actually used a tour. It was called The King of Sports, a buddy of mine, John Kudo, and he played the antagonist to the home mascot, and he would get that stadium booing because he was the bad guy, and so all those things are effective, and that's what you do to keep that crowd on their toes, so to speak, and make them react so they have something to say when they go home.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. No, that's actually really, it's good to know because, like you said, you can book the Superstars every night. Not only is that extremely expensive for an organization and unrealistic, but it gets old then. It gets stale. It's the same thing. But if you're taking, the rules that, the guidelines that an act like the Superstars or the Blues Brothers follow, and you're applying that to everything that you do in your script and everything that you thought through, you don't have to have an appearance every night then, because you're executing on a high level, on an entertaining level, similar to these national entertainers.
Correct. Yeah, when we used to get hired twice a year, it'd be a little bit unnerving, to be blunt, because we're like, oh, wait a second, we have to change our show. I don't want to go back to that same facility twice in one season and do the same acts or same skits in the same order. The Superstars have multiple skits. They don't come back. They may do their fan favorites, but they don't do the same thing if they were back twice or 3 times during a season. And fans and teams need to be cognizant of that too. Yeah. One time we did a really cute player video, not Blues, but when I was doing my consulting more about a decade ago, and we did this great player skit video, and it was really funny. The players got into it. The whole crowd loved it. And the owner comes up and goes, we got to do that again tomorrow. And I said, no, we don't. and I kind of got a little pissing match with him. He's like, no, we do. And I'm like, no, we don't. Yeah. We hit him hard. We did him great. Maybe we bring this back at a couple of homestands. But tomorrow we got to do something new that makes that crowd react the way they did tonight. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, that's really cool. We all want to try to be, as an organization, everybody's organization wants to be, nationally recognized and a national entertainer. So some of these little things really, really go a long way in accomplishing that. So I appreciate your insight on that. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I think it's a nice, I think we have a concise message here for this particular podcast.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let us know what you guys think. If you have any experience with these national acts, or if you have anything that you've done that you like as well. As always, as I mentioned at the beginning, submit your comments and questions. But until next time, it's all about your fans. We'll see you later.